What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Protocol Pegasus here, bringing back to you guys a Remnant from the Ashes, and today we are taking a look at my Corrupted Doomslayer build. So my character sheet is as followed. I am using for my handgun twin shots with the weapon mod known as Swarm attached onto it. From there I am using for my long gun ricochet rifle attached onto its weapon mod known as Breath of the Desert. For my melee weapon I am using Hero Sword with the perk known as Energy Wave. For my armor set, I am using one piece Corrupted Hood skin, one piece Doomslayer Duster skin, and then one piece Labyrinth Greaves. From there, this is part of the Twisted Hood set for the helmet. This guy is the Cultist set for the chest, and this guy is the just normal Labyrinth. From there, it also has a Mystic Greaves skin, if you were interested. From there, I'm using Heart of Darkness as my necklace. For my ring, I'm using Blood Fonts, and for my other ring, I'm using Eslon's Band. Now, on the traits. Alright, so my traits are going to be as followed. One of the primary traits I recommend doing is Treg, which increases healing efficiency by 100%. The next trait I'm going to recommend doing is Concentration, which increases mod duration by 20%. And then the next trait I recommend doing is Spirit, which increases mod power generation by 25%. From there, if you have the ability to go about doing so, I highly recommend going for every single trait within the course of the game to min-max your overall build, whether it be this one or the next, just because this gives you free terrain of being able to do whatever you want, and also not only being more of a well-rounded individual, but just being able to deal with any situation you happen to account for, just because you don't know what to expect within Apocalypse mode. So with all that being said, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into some gameplay, shall we? Real quick, guys, just wanted to let you know that 94% of you guys that do end up watching my content happen to enjoy it aren't subscribed, so just be sure to subscribe. It really helps me out, and if you don't like me, you can always unsubscribe later. Thanks, guys. Alright, now moving on to the pros and cons of this particular build. So this build is going to be very, very fast, very lightweight, very compact. So you'll be able to pretty much float like a butterfly and sting like a bee, run around pretty easily, being able to snipe people out of position, being able to deal with a lot of mobs at once, and just being able to self-sustain yourself pretty easily with the ability to heal yourself over time with the amount of rings and helmet that you happen to utilize. From there, you'll also be able to take advantage of tight corridors with the ricochet rifle to be able to just bolster down enemies left and right. So honestly, it's really effective. From there, with the whole lightweight frame perspective, you can actually just make it so that way you continuously kite around walls, the corners, and a bunch of enemies pretty easily, while still self-sustaining yourself pretty efficiently due to the fact that you have a higher armor efficiency with the mixture of armor pieces you're currently using for this particular set. So what's also really nice about this particular build is that you have the ability to deal with AoE pretty effectively. So from there, if a lot of mobs happen to rush you, you can throw down your swarm and then just use the ricochet rifle in a large group of area, and then from there just start mowing them down and not really have to worry about getting overrun by anything. So you should be pretty good in the long run. Another cool aspect of this particular build is the fact that you also have a lot of burst potential too, with your ability to use your opposing mod, which just lets you send out these bolts at enemies. From there, that stacks up 3 times, which you can just continuously use that, and then from there mow down single target enemies left and right. From there, you don't really have to worry about elites too much, and plus that also stacks with swarm as well, so you can throw swarm and that on top of them, and you just burst them down rather quickly. With the ability to continuously regenerate your mods so effectively, you really don't have any lackluster potential with this build. It actually can be capitalized on quite effectively just by sitting in the back and just mowing down enemies while passively regenerating your mods as well as your health. So the build gives you a really, really well-rounded concept when it comes to self-sustain, mod regeneration, power output, AoE, single target damage. The build can kind of do it all, so it makes it very, very well-rounded. There are a few downsides to this particular build. One of the downsides being is that you don't have the most damage output as opposed to like a single target based build or a full-on AoE build, because it's a mixture of a little bit of both. So from there, it does take a little bit longer to go about killing bosses, but you do have the self-sustain to out-self-sustain a boss pretty effectively, so it really shouldn't be too much of an issue. Because as you can see here, I am playing on Apocalypse mode, but I'm continuously self-sustaining myself accordingly, and I don't really have to worry about it too much. So it ends up working out in the long run. From there, another thing to take note of too is that since you are using the Labyrinth leggings, when you do your dodge roll, they will be a little heavier, not too heavy, but a little bit heavier than what you're usually used to on a complete light base set. So that is something to keep in mind when timing those frames perfectly. Another, I would say more or less downside to the build is that you do run out of ammo a lot, so make sure you do have ammo crates on you, but nothing you can't compensate without like a few consumables and so on and so forth. So should work out in your favor in the long run at the end of the day. One of the particular reasons I did end up picking these 3 pieces for my set is because I wanted to get a build that was very well rounded. What do I mean by that is that I wanted something that has the ability to do AoE damage. I wanted something that was lightweight. I wanted something that I could take a hit, and I wanted something that can still self-sustain me accordingly. That's why I ended up picking a lot of the pieces that I did. So you saw in the beginning I picked the helmet. I picked both the rings because of the fact they stack with one another, so I passively regenerate health over time, and I don't have to worry about getting pretty much flustered with a bunch of enemies and just caught out to the point of where I end up continuously dying. I can easily backpedal a little bit, regain my boundaries, and from there just make sure that I'm not being overrun, and as I'm doing so, my health is just passively regenerating. What's also nice is too, I didn't want to have too much downtime within the course of the build, meaning that I was constantly proccing Dragon Hearts or constantly having to use consumables, and with this particular build, I really don't have to. Just using a lot of consumables, as you can see in the bottom right hand corner, is just kind of my playstyle, but you really don't have to use too many consumables with this particular build. It does help, don't get me wrong, but from there you can just fully capitalize on the fact of utilizing your passive healing regeneration with everything you have, and you'll be perfectly fine. You really won't have to worry about continuously healing yourself unless you need like burst healing. From there, what's also nice is that I ended up picking up the ricochet rifle for one of 2 reasons. One reason is that it is amazing and underrated. It does really nice AoE damage output and has the chance to do pretty decent single target damage if you aim it correctly, because it will ricochet off of your opponent and then hit the floor, and then it can ricochet back at them like 3 times, which can result in not only 1 crit but 3 crits in 1 target, which almost instantly murders an elite if you set it up right. So it works out relatively well, and I don't have any issues with it. From there, the other reason I picked it is because it's really fun. I love the ricochet rifle. I think it's such a unique weapon. I think it's so underrated. So if you haven't got your hands on this weapon as of yet, feel free to go about doing so, because it's such a good weapon. I think it's definitely a lot better than what people give it credit for. The reason I ended up picking up the sidearm, to be honest, it's quiet, it's lightweight, it also uses single target damage very effectively, and from there, because it does so much single target damage, it lets me regenerate my mods a little bit faster. So from there, it's one of the reasons I use it. Plus I think it looks good with my primary weapon, which is the ricochet rifle, so it works out rather well. From there, another reason I ended up picking my legs, which is the one-piece Labyrinth set, is because of the fact that I get the increased mod power output, which increases the damage off of the bolts from the radiation bolts, and then increases the damage off of Swarm. So that's really the only reason I picked it. From there, I ended up picking one-piece Cultist because I wanted the mod regeneration, and from there I wanted to increase the mod duration on the Swarm, so I felt that was just a win-win there. From there, I ended up picking up the Hero Sword just because I think it looked good, and it's probably one of the best melee weapons in the course of the game. I don't really use it at all in this course of the video. I'm just not really a huge fan of melee when it comes to this game as a whole, but it is a really good weapon. It definitely fits into the build rather well. From there, I ended up using the Dragon Necklace because of the fact I just needed a little bit more damage output, because my overall damage output with my primary and secondary weapon by itself without any mods active at the current moment was relatively weak, and I figured since I had so much health regeneration anyway, I wasn't really proccing Dragonheart, so it just made more sense to do that. So it ended up working on the long run, and I really didn't run into any issues in that regard. So it ended up playing pretty well. The traits that I ended up recommending to you guys, the reason I recommended those traits, because I think they're one of the strongest traits in the course of the game. Just being able to capitalize on your mod efficiency just by having it regen continuously, and also having your healing output just bolstered from the Dragon trait, which I'm probably saying wrong. You can post it down below in the comments if I am. From there, everything just stacks. Everything just stacks rather well, and all synergizes really well together. Even though I'm not getting a full set bonus, it actually works rather well. This is probably the first 3-piece set I've actually used that I really like. I don't really have any issues or complaints with it. It actually ended up playing out pretty well, and I was actually pretty happy about it. As you can see in a lot of different scenarios within the course of this video, I ended up getting into a lot of different worlds and playing it through a lot of different worlds, and it ended up working out rather well. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Also, I do appreciate you guys' feedback that you guys given me in later videos. Excuse me, can't talk today. It actually ends up working out in the long run for me because I want to go about getting better as a YouTuber, especially when it comes to Remnant from the Ashes content. So you guys being able to do that for me definitely helps me out a lot. But yeah, just don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe, guys. It really helps me out a lot. And if you haven't subscribed already, be sure to go about doing so. It definitely supports me and pushes me forward to be able to make more videos for you guys. It is something that I would love to do more often, but due to, you know, actually having a real job, it doesn't come out to that. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you guys real soon. Later.